I had always been the quiet one in the family, the one who worked hard behind the scenes while others took the spotlight. My name is Monica Brown, a 32-year-old woman who believes in family more than anything else. My younger sister, Renee, was turning 28, and she had been talking about her upcoming birthday party for months. Renee was the kind of woman who liked glamour, bright lights, attention, expensive champagne, and cameras flashing all around her. She wanted her birthday to be the talk of Chicago. And because I loved her deeply, I decided to make that happen, even if it meant using up my savings. I paid for everything: the event center, decorations, DJ, catering, and even her shimmering gold dress. No one knew except me and the event planner, Lisa Carter, who kept my name off every invoice, just as I instructed. All I wanted was to see Renee smile. I didn't want Renee to know I sponsor her birthday because I feared she would reject my help. She had always been proud, too proud. We had fought months earlier about money. She said I always tried to act like the savior. But I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted her day to be perfect. Lisa, the planner, kept asking, "Are you sure you don't want your name mentioned, Miss Brown?" And I replied, "No, Lisa. This is about my sister. Let her shine." I worked double shifts at the hospital where I was a nurse. Every night, I came home exhausted, but when I saw the progress photos of the event setup, I smiled. I imagined Renee's face lighting up. If only I knew the humiliation waiting for me that day. The day of the party came with sunshine and laughter. The event hall glittered with gold and white drapes, chandeliers hung low, and the air smelled like vanilla and roses. Guests began arriving in their best outfits. I wore a simple blue gown, nothing flashy, just decent enough to blend in. I wanted to celebrate with my sister quietly. When I arrived, Renee was surrounded by her friends, laughing loudly and posing for pictures. She looked stunning in her gold gown, and my heart swelled with pride. I waved and said softly, "Happy birthday, sis." She turned, her smile fading when she saw me. "Monica? What are you doing here?" she asked, her tone sharp. "I came to celebrate you," I said, confused. "It's your big day." Her best friend Tanya whispered something into her ear, and Renee's expression changed completely. "Well," she said, flipping her hair, "I didn't send you an invite." The room went silent for a moment. Some people turned to look at me. I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. "Renee, come on. It's me, your sister." But she crossed her arms. "I didn't want any negative energy at my party. You always think everything's about you." I stood there frozen, my heart breaking into pieces. People began murmuring. Someone even whispered, "Is that her sister?" I tried to stay calm, but my voice trembled. "I came because I love you, not because of anything else." "Then love me from afar," Renee snapped. Minutes later, 2 security guards approached me. One of them said gently, "Ma'am, we've been asked to escort you out." "Escort me out?" I repeated in disbelief. "From my sister's party?" "Yes, ma'am," he said, looking uncomfortable. I looked at Renee one last time, expecting her to stop them, but she turned her back and began laughing with her friends again. I walked out of that hall slowly, tears stinging my eyes. No one knew that the money that paid for the chandeliers, the champagne, and the laughter all came from the woman being bounced out. That night, I cried myself to sleep. I replayed the scene over and over in my head. Every time I thought about it, my chest tightened. The next morning, Lisa called me. "Miss Brown, how was the party?" she asked cheerfully. "It was beautiful," I said quietly. Then she added, "I hope your sister appreciated what you did." She looked so happy. I smiled sadly. "She doesn't know I sponsored it." Lisa was silent for a while. Then she said softly, "You have a big heart, Miss Brown. One day she'll understand." Word spread fast. By Sunday, my mother, Mrs. Gloria Brown, called. Monica, what happened between you and your sister? She demanded. She bounced me out of her party, I said simply. What? Why? I don't know, Mum. She said I bring negative energy. My mother sighed. You know how Renee is. She's still young. Maybe you did something that offended her. Mum, I said firmly, I did nothing wrong. In fact, I paid for the whole party. There was silence on the other end. You did what? Yes. I sponsored everything. Monica, why didn't you tell her? Because I wanted it to be a surprise. The following week, Renee posted her birthday pictures on Instagram with the caption, When you're blessed, you don't need fake love around you. Her friends commented, You did right, girl. Some people are jealous of your glow. Each word pierced through my heart like a knife. I thought of deleting my account just to avoid the pain. But then I told myself, truth doesn't need defense. The world could believe what it wanted. I knew what I did. Days turned into weeks. I focused on my work and tried to move on. But inside, I felt empty. One afternoon, Mum visited me. She held my hand and said, Monica, sometimes kindness gets misunderstood. But never stop being you. I nodded slowly. I just wish she'd know how much I love her. She will, Mum said softly. Life always brings truth to the surface. 2 months later, Renee's event planner, Lisa, accidentally exposed the truth. Renee had hired her again for another event, and during a discussion, Lisa mentioned how generous her sister had been. Wait, Renee said. My sister? What do you mean? Lisa blinked. Oh, I thought you knew. Your sister Monica was the one who paid for everything at your birthday party. Renee froze, her drink slipping from her hand. What did you just say? Lisa explained everything, the secret instructions, the hidden invoices, the payments. Renee's face turned pale. She realized she had humiliated the very person who made her day special. Renee showed up at my apartment the next morning. Her eyes were swollen, and she held a bouquet of lilies. Monica, she whispered, standing at the door. I folded my arms. What brings you here? She burst into tears. I didn't know. Lisa told me everything. You paid for my party, and I threw you out. I looked away. You hurt me deeply, Renee. I was stupid, she said, sobbing. I let my pride and my friends blind me. Can you ever forgive me? For a long time, I said nothing. Then I sighed. Forgiveness isn't about words. It's about change. Weeks passed. Our relationship slowly began to heal. Renee started showing up at my workplace with lunch. She apologized again in front of our family during a Sunday dinner. Mum, Monica paid for everything, she confessed. I threw her out like a stranger. I was wrong. Mum's eyes watered. You two are my daughters. Don't let pride ruin what love built. Renee turned to me. Monica, I love you. I'll spend my life making it up to you. Months later, Renee planned another event, a charity drive for single mothers. This time, she came to me first. I want us to do it together, she said. Not as rivals, but as sisters. We worked side by side, laughed again, and even took pictures together. The bond that once broke was mended stronger than ever. And when people asked her why she changed, Renee would say with pride, because I learned that love sometimes hides behind silence, and true family never advertises their sacrifice. On my next birthday, Renee surprised me with a party. Everything was perfect, the music, the laughter, the friends. But the most touching moment was when she stood to make a toast. This celebration, she said, is for the sister who taught me humility and love. Monica, you are my heart. Tears streamed down my face as I stood and hugged her. The hall erupted in applause. It was no longer about revenge or regret. It was about healing. Later that night, when everyone had gone, Renee and I sat alone. She said quietly, "You gave me a birthday I'll never forget, even if it started wrong." I smiled. "And you gave me the sister I thought I lost." The moonlight poured through the window, wrapping us both in silver glow. We sat there, no more words, just peace, two sisters, finally understanding what love truly means. Though Renee and I had made peace, something inside me still stung when I thought about that night. Forgiveness didn't erase memory, it just dulled the pain. Sometimes, I'd wake up remembering the sound of people laughing as I walked out of the hall. But I tried to push it behind me. Healing was a journey, not a switch. Chicago was small when it came to gossip. At church, a few women whispered when Renee and I walked in together. "That's the sister she threw out, right?" one of them said. Renee heard them but kept walking. After service, she turned to me. "I deserve what they say," she admitted. "But I'll show them I've changed." I smiled. "You don't have to prove anything to them. Just live right." Renee's idea for the charity drive grew bigger than either of us expected. We called it Hearts of Grace. It was meant to support single mothers and young girls returning to school. We partnered with local churches and community centers. The same event planner, Lisa, offered to volunteer for free. "After what you two went through," she said, "this feels like a full circle moment." Not everyone believed Renee's change. Tanya, her best friend from the party, said behind her back, "She's only acting good because she got exposed." Renee overheard one day and cried. I told her, "Let people talk. You can't silence every mouth. Just keep walking in truth." She hugged me and said, "You're my strength, Monica." Our mother couldn't stop smiling. "My daughters are finally walking together," she said. She even cooked her famous collard greens and cornbread and invited the whole family over. For the first time in years, there was laughter at the Brown family table instead of silent tension. During one of the charity events, a well-known businesswoman named Mrs. Beverly Grant attended. She watched how passionately Renee spoke about forgiveness and humility. Afterward, she approached us. "Young ladies," she said, "I see God's work in your story. I'd like to fund your next project." That donation became the seed for a community scholarship in our late father's name. Just when things were going well, trouble came again. Someone on social media dug up old screenshots of Renee's party, including the post where she called people fake love. They went viral with the caption, "She insulted her sister who paid for her party." Renee was devastated. "I'm being dragged again," she sobbed. I told her calmly, "Don't run from your past. Speak your truth." Renee went live on Instagram. She told the whole story, how she had thrown me out, how she found out I was her secret sponsor, and how she changed. Millions watched. By the end, the comments were filled with love and support. People wrote, "This is growth." That night, she called me crying, "Thank you for teaching me to face pain with grace." Mom told us she'd never been prouder. "You two have turned your scars into lessons for others," she said. I smiled. That's all I ever wanted. But even as things got better, I knew life always had another test waiting. One evening, Tanya came to our house. She stood at the door looking nervous. "I came to apologize," she said to Renee. "I was the one who told you Monica shouldn't come that night. I was jealous of your bond." Renee froze, then nodded slowly. "I forgive you, Tanya," she said softly. "Let's start over." I was proud of her. Forgiveness had truly taken root. The success of Hearts of Grace inspired us to expand. We decided to open a women's training center, a place where women could learn trades and rebuild their lives. We named it the Monica and Renee Foundation. When the mayor came for the launch, I stood there humbled. remembering the night I was thrown out of a hall I paid for. Local TV stations picked up our story. One reporter said, "From humiliation to healing, two sisters turned pain into purpose." It became one of Chicago's most shared human interest stories that year. I realized God had turned what was meant for shame into a testimony. But success has a way of testing humility. Renee began to change again, subtly at first. She enjoyed the attention, the photo shoots, the interviews. One day she said, "Monica, people love me because I'm the face of the foundation. You should let me handle things publicly." I looked at her and said quietly, "Don't let pride rebuild what forgiveness destroyed." The tension between us grew. I handled the administrative work, while Renee handled publicity. Soon, she began making decisions without telling me. I felt invisible again, just like before. Mom called a family meeting. "Renee," she said sternly, "don't let fame make you forget where you started. Remember who helped you rebuild." Renee nodded, tears in her eyes. "I know, Mom. I just got carried away." But I could see she was struggling between gratitude and pride. We had promised to keep all decisions transparent. But one morning, I discovered Renee had withdrawn money from the foundation account to fund her private clothing line. When I confronted her, she said, "It's still helping women, Monica. Fashion empowers too." I shook my head. That's not what the donors gave us the money for. The argument became heated. "I built this brand," she shouted. "You built it with forgiveness, not fame," I replied. We didn't speak for 3 weeks after that. News broke that some donors had pulled out. Rumors spread that the foundation was misusing funds. Even though I knew Renee hadn't stolen anything for greed, her actions caused mistrust. I wept that night. "Lord, not again." I called a board meeting and told the truth. I didn't hide Renee's actions, but I took part of the blame. "I should have guided her better," I said. Afterward, Renee came to my house crying. "You still defended me?" "Yes," I said. "Because family doesn't bury each other, even in mistakes." Renee went live once more, admitting her error. She refunded the money and apologized publicly. People respected her honesty. The foundation's name was cleared, and donations began to flow again. We restructured everything. Renee focused on mentorship. I handled the finances. The peace returned. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One evening at a fundraising dinner, I met Eric, a journalist who had covered our story. He was kind, quiet, and respectful. Over months, he became my friend, then more than that. Renee teased, "Finally, my sister has someone who sees her worth." As my relationship blossomed, Renee confessed something to me. "Sometimes I envy how calm you are. I always needed attention, but you always had peace." I held her hand and said, "Peace is expensive. It comes after pain and lessons." Eric proposed during one of our charity events. The crowd cheered, and Renee screamed louder than anyone. For the first time, I felt celebrated without shadows of bitterness around me. At my wedding, Renee gave a heartfelt speech. She was my sponsor, my savior, my second mother. "Monica, you taught me that love never advertises." Everyone stood up and clapped. Mom wept uncontrollably. The same family that once scattered was now whole again. Months later, I and Eric moved to Savannah. Renee continued running the foundation. We talked every night like best friends. Distance didn't break us. It healed us more. The Monica and Renee Foundation won an award for community impact. Renee flew to Savannah to hand me the plaque herself. "This belongs to both of us," she said. We stood on stage holding hands, and the crowd cheered, "Sister Power." Later that night, Renee whispered, "Do you remember the day I threw you out?" I nodded. "Yes." But now it feels like a dream. She smiled. That night built the women we became. Our joy was tested again when Mum fell ill. Doctors said she had high blood pressure and needed rest. We took turns caring for her. Those long nights at her bedside reminded us of what really mattered, love and family. When Mum recovered, she said softly, "You both gave me peace before my time comes." That's the best gift a mother could ask for. We hugged her tightly, tears in our eyes. The foundation expanded to other states. We opened branches in Alabama and Florida. Women began calling us the Brown Sisters of Hope. I realized that sometimes the pain God allows us to feel becomes the story others need to survive. Renee met a pastor named Michael Davis. He was calm, kind, and firm, everything she needed. When he proposed, she called me first. "Monica, I finally found peace like yours." I laughed. "About time, sis." Her wedding was magical. During her vows, she said, "To the sister I once rejected, thank you for teaching me grace." The crowd wept. History had repeated, but this time in healing instead of hurt. Years later, when people told our story at conferences and schools, they always ended with one line: "Kindness may be silent, but it always echoes louder than hate." Our journey became a lesson to families everywhere, that love doesn't quit even when pride tries to bury it. Every year on her birthday, Renee sends me flowers with the same note. "Thank you for the birthday I didn't deserve but will never forget." And every year, I smile, whispering, some gifts don't come in boxes, they come in forgiveness.